Welcome to Sports Today. Rather disappointing day for everybody, but perhaps inevitable. Was there any other option? No. Was the IPL becoming untenable? Yes. I will take all the questions. We will break it down. What went wrong? What could have been done better? What are the lessons? What impact does this have? Cricket Australia has issued a statement. Cricket South Africa has issued a statement. Been in touch with a lot of the players. What impact will this have on people going forward? And more importantly, what does this mean for the T20 World Cup in India? Will the World Cup get impacted as a result of all of this? Plenty of questions we have with no definitive answers, but we can definitely try and make sense of the optics and where it is going. So let's break it down. Let's break it down. Uh, Number one, where did the IPL go wrong? I think where the IPL went wrong is by having travel. If you actually see the way things go, and Venki Mysore said it in that interview with me, which you people have seen, that the way it is that you travel from wherever you are, whichever part of the world you are, you come and enter into quarantine. Before you enter, obviously there is a chance of you having picked up the virus. Anrik Nokia, Aksar Patel, Nitish Rana are cases in point. Each of them had picked up the virus in travel, in transit. Anrik coming from Pakistan to India, Nitish traveling from wherever he was, his house to the bubble, and Aksar from Ahmedabad to the bubble. Now, the advantage is that when you are coming into quarantine, you know that there is a period of hard quarantine. So, whenever you come, you do a test and you do a repeat test. Now, if that's for positive, you are in any case in isolation in hard quarantine. So, the chance of you spreading the virus among your colleagues or teammates or anyone within that bio bubble is zero. So, immediately, if you see the experience last year, lots of cases in the Chennai Super Kings, some cases in other franchises, when teams were getting into the bubble. The moment that bubble was secured and the tournament started, there were no cases. That's what happened this year as well. That's what happened this year as well when teams were coming into the bubble. But the moment teams started, and if you see, there were no cases in the first 2 weeks. So the Mumbai leg, at that point in time, Mumbai was at its worst. Today, Mumbai is better. If you go and check the number of cases and positivity rate in Mumbai, it was way better now rather than when the IPL started. Despite that, there was no problem within that bio bubble because there was no travel. The moment you added travel, Mumbai to Bangalore, Bangalore to Delhi, Mumbai to Ahmedabad, Mumbai to Chennai, you opened up a Pandora's box. Yes, certain franchises tried to opt for a private terminal like the Kolkata Knight Riders. Certain franchises opted for a green corridor, got people wearing PPE kits to frisk them, but nothing worked. Nothing worked. Because from what we are now able to understand, having spoken to multiple CEOs across multiple franchises, is that the infection must have been picked up during travel. And that is what is the key learning, that the bio bubble was working till the time travel was undertaken by the teams. At that point in time, it became porous. Whether it is a Varun Chakravarti and a Sandeep Warrior or an Amit Mishra or a Balaji or whoever, Ridhiman Saha, there has been no perceptive breach in the bubble in the hotel, because then the CCTV cameras and the 4 bio bubble experts, integrity managers who are there, would have caught it. That is when the bubble became porous because of travel. Now, this brings me to the question of the T20 World Cup. If you ask me, sitting today, having spoken to ICC sources, having spoken to BCCI, I have grave doubts if the World Cup can be held in India? If you ask me today, my answer would be no, because the World Cup has 16 teams, unlike 8 in the IPL. The World Cup has to be multi city. It cannot be one city like the IPL. If you go to Bombay, you have three venues you play. But the World Cup will have to be multi city. The moment you do multi city, or you have to go to Bombay with the 16 cities and play there. The moment you try and go multi city, then again you are talking about travel, and there is prediction of a possible third wave, though the third wave should be way more controlled if we have vaccinated 50 crore Indians by then, which according to me will happen by August. Even if the current pace of vaccination and what is projected is met, which should be the case, in fact, they're ramping it up, or the government will ramp it up. SII, Covaxin, both will be available in greater numbers, and Sputnik has come in. Other vaccines will get official regulation clearance. So even if you vaccinate, you will be about 50-55 crores by then, taking two doses. Yes, your country will be much better, but there's a possibility of a relatively weaker third wave. Now, that will put a spanner in the works, because what happens then is, if you are going multi city, you are actually taking a chance with player safety during travel. And by the way, it's not BCCI, it will become, and not franchises which are India controlled. There will be teams from countries, and Australia and England and New Zealand. There will be serious apprehension on the part of the countries to take that chance. Even the International Cricket Council, the IPL is a domestic tournament. If it is cancelled, the BCCI stands to lose whatever international prestige or money or whatever it is. But it's an Indian tournament. The World Cup, the ICC has a backup option in the UAE for them to go ahead with the World Cup, even if there is a 5% chance of something untoward happening, is a big chance. So, as on date, unless things are dramatically better in the next 2 months, which will be the case, but there is always that apprehension, because UAE is a small country, they vaccinated almost everyone. There will be a corridor. When the travel restrictions are lifted, you will have, just like the Olympics, you will have multiple RT-PCR, and then you will have that vaccination certificate to take to. So, you will be able to travel to the UAE and have it in a controlled environment. The ICC knows the drill. Every country now knows the drill. So there is every reason to believe that the UAE will be safer, or will be perceived as safer. India, unfortunately, because of this experience, there will always be that apprehension and alarm that, will India be safer, at least in September, October, because teams will come in September, they'll sort of acclimatize and stay and do camps, and then obviously in October the tournament has to be hosted. Sitting today, because of the presence of 16 teams involving multi cities and travel, I have serious apprehensions if the T20 World Cup would go ahead on Indian soil. Domestic cricket, I do not see happening, at least in the next month or two, till the time the curve is flat, because in domestic cricket, obviously, the bubbles are not as strong or as monetarily invested in compared to international or IPL. So domestic cricket will also take a hit. So the spiraling effect of this cancellation will continue to haunt us for a while. Obviously, in the third quarter of this year, the country should be, because that's how it is with every pandemic. By then, we will have way more vaccine. We will have a flat curve. The country will be way better. But at this point in time, I have serious doubts if the World Cup will be able to go ahead on Indian soil. My bet is 95% no, 5% yes. Let me take questions. There are plenty. Thank you about the foreign players. They just trusted BCCI, came to entertain, putting life on risk. Hats off to them. BCCI has just disappointed. I don't think the BCCI has disappointed their trust, Pratyush Jha. They've done nothing, the BCCI. The BCCI has done nothing wrong. What has the BCCI done except, yes, the travel was a misplaced call, but they haven't let the foreign players down. You have to understand that the biggest blow is for the board. The board obviously loses credibility in front of the world. The board loses some amount of control. The board loses money. This is the board's biggest big ticket tournament. So the board has not let the foreign players down. Rather, the board is the biggest hit. So, and frankly, even today, even now, I don't think the board has abandoned a single foreign player. So Let's not criticize the BCCI, because the BCCI, yes, they got the travel bit wrong. But, unlike in the UAE, and there are certain other factors also, unlike in the UAE, that's a big learning curve. But to say that and that's a mistake. The travel bit is a mistake. Should it have been in the UAE? Maybe yes, in hindsight. Should it have been in one city, Mumbai, or a couple of cities? Yes, maybe in hindsight. But and that is a mistake. But to say that the BCCI ignored foreign players, I don't think is correct. जियो फाइबर टू जियो फाइबर घर में आओ जादू क्या बोल रहे हो यार बोरियादा यूएई plan for T20 World Cup. Absolutely, Rima. UAE is the backup plan for the T20 World Cup, and I think that's what is going to happen. Gokul Gopalan Natarajan not allowed to scan in Green Channel earlier. Varun now allowed. You know what? Let's not nitpick. For God's sake, Natarajan has not contracted the infection. Fingers crossed he shouldn't. He should get better. Varun KKR organized it that way. In Nattu's case, no one is discriminating against any player. So don't nitpick. BCCI complete failure. It's so funny. No, it's not funny, Aidan Sheen. I mean, it's not funny at all. This is a proof that no bio bubble where there is travel involved is secure. It is not about bus travel where a bus goes from here. It's about air travel. People frisking you, frisking the body, frisking your luggage and scans. So it's not funny at all. If you think it's funny, you're an idiot, because this is IPL. It's about millions and millions of dollars and lives, people losing livelihoods, people and not the players, people who are working in the IPL ecosystem will this was their income. And now if they have to go to their families and someone's infected, for oxygen, for remdesivir or any other medicine, this was the money that would have made a difference. So it's not funny at all. Don't try and be sarcastic and cynical, because then you're proving yourself to be a fool. Amit Dangi, will there be any accountability? There was no biobubble breach, Amit. There was no biobubble breach. And why were the cases being hidden? As you tweeted, Saha was isolated, but the results have come today. Saha was isolated because the moment he sort of felt anything, the result came today, and there was no hiding at all. Because if you hide, then you are putting your own team in peril, because within the bubble you are mixing around. Saha was isolated for 4 days. There was no this thing about hiding in any case. So I can guarantee that there was complete transparency, and it has to be, because you if you don't put out names, as and I know for a fact Venki Mysore was insisted to me that yes, the names have to be put out, because otherwise people anywhere. So for example, someone who may have come in contact with Sandeep Warrior at the ground, or Varun, would otherwise not know who the person is, and wild names would fly around. Think of the foreign players. The foreign players, yes, everyone came in, but this was their job, and I don't think the BCCI has let them down at all. Amit Mishra, I again, I mean, I don't think it's anyone's fault. Sanket, if you find this, what are you trying to say? I have no idea. I think UAE is the right solution at this point. Rima, UAE does seem to be the right solution. I don't see this as I no. Okay, let me say this. I don't think there is any resumption on the cards. A lot of people have asked me several people have asked me 1 week, 10 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. No, I don't see the IPL happening. And June is England World Championship. Till September is that. The only possible window could have been September, but I don't see a congregation of this sort happening in September before the World Cup happens in October. Extremely unlikely. So, if you really ask me, I do not see the IPL resuming this year in any case. I don't. I mean, I think we will have a massive IPL in 22, but I do not see the tournament resuming in 21. Amlan, I've answered your question. Amit, Pratyush, agree. Uh, will there be any accountability? I've answered that. Sure, from the travel. 100% should Parth survey from what we are getting. Okay, let me tell you what I got from KKR. That Varun Chakravarti went to the hospital, or in the case of Balaji, I'll tell you that. Varun went to the hospital. He was in a green corridor. He was with a doctor who was wearing a PP. He was wearing PP. His the driver was wearing a PP. It was a biosecure car from the bubble. He was in and out of the hospital because a CT scan doesn't take that much time, or a scan, whatever scan it was. So he was there for about 7, 8 minutes, is exactly what I'm told by the KKR management. Now, in the 7, 8 minutes, he came across two people, the technician and the helper. None of them have shown symptoms. Both were double vaccinated. None of them have shown symptoms. So they couldn't have passed on the infection. What does that tell you? That tells you that Varun picked up the infection somewhere else. Now, where he must have picked up the infection is during travel. That's why none of us are sure. But if you eliminate all the possibilities, there is every reason to believe that Varun actually picked up the infection during travel. Ayush Kanodia, no IPL will take place, men or women. The GPS based on player's hand was flop as per IPL franchise report. It never recorded the data of travel. I've heard this, but the fact is the GPS. If you go and check the app, was the app regularly checked? Was the information did the players open the app at regular intervals? It's very easy to fault companies, but did the players or people involved actually check the app on regular intervals so that the information was uploaded on cloud? Was it used regularly? Now, when we think back, you can think back to all of these minute details. Who was the senior person who was tested positive? I would leave it at that, Manoj. Why? What is the point of? There's no need to sort of, Balaji and the cleaner. Kashi. We both know that he's better. That it was a negative, false positive test. The other person, let's not get into it because the IPL is suspended. I wish him all the very best, and a speedy recovery. Why not Rajan? I've answered that, Manoj Kumar. Ayush, what about Indian women in the 100? Yeah, four girls have gotten the NOC who applied. So you should be able to see the Indian girls in the 100. Your claim you speak to players you know travel was making, yet you still insisted everything is. What? Shorna Poddar. What do you mean hunky dory? What do you mean hunky dory? What do you even mean? When a tournament is going on, you report facts, and there was no breach of bubble till a certain point in time, and even now, has there been any perceptive breach in bubble? No. So where is this hunky dory nonsense that you are asking me coming from? Clearly from the franchises, the CEO, and you have seen multiple CEOs on my platform. You've seen a Venki Mysore, you've seen a Satish, you've seen a J. Clash Makram. From what I gather from all these executives, senior executives, is everyone's telling me that it could have been travel. Now, travel was part of the itinerary decided by the BCCI. Now, in hindsight, we are saying that travel could have been one of the problems. So, I somebody is saying that outside food allow nonsense. If anybody says outside food allowing was the problem, they don't even know Jack. And all this sports yari kind of, Manoj and people were my juniors. I do not want to comment on it, but they know nothing. It's as simple as that. Outside food. Can anybody come and tell me that outside food was the problem? If they say, they have zero idea, because no one can pinpoint that outside food was a problem, scan was a problem. I've told you exactly what the franchise owners and the chief executives are telling you. It is nothing to do with outside food. And again, surface to surface, we all know now there is enormous amounts of research that it's hardly, the virus doesn't transmit like that. It is about airborne or through aerosols. The problem is, without speaking to players and people, if we make comments, and unfortunately that's been the case here, you will not land anywhere. And my point is, the World Cup is in peril because you will have to undergo travel, and that's a problem. But Trisha told me that Sports Yari or some platform is claiming they know nothing. I don't see this year's IPL being resumed. I agree. How did only in the last 24 hours? No, in not the last 24 hours. If you see, when did the players travel? after 14, 15 days, right? So the IPL started on 9th. There was a period of 2 weeks, and then the team started moving from Chennai to Delhi, Delhi to Ahmedabad, whatever it is, right? So the players moved in that corridor. And once you moved in that corridor, that is the period 5 days, 6 days, 7 days after travel, the infection starts manifesting. So if you see that and corroborate the information based on team travel charts, you will see the last 3 4 days, which is about 4 5 6 7 days of travel, that all these cases, the infection manifested itself in Varun, Nofil Zak, Varun, Sandeep, Amit, Riddhi. All of these cases came together in that window when the infection manifested itself 5 6 7 or 8. यार प्रताप सिंह, ये इंग्लिश प्लेटफॉर्म है भाई। मैं हिंदी, ये प्लेटफॉर्म हिंदी प्लेटफॉर्म नहीं है, बट फिर भी मैं, मुझे जितना आता है मैं कोशिश कर लेता हूँ कुछ कुछ शो हिंदी में करने के लिए, बट ये प्लेटफॉर्म इंग्लिश में है। सो ये तो मेरे हाथ में है नहीं प्रताप सिंह जी। मैं कोशिश ज़रूर करूंगा, अगर आपका कोई स्पेसिफिक सवाल हिंदी में है तो आप मेरे से पूछ लीजिए, मैं ज़रूर उसका आंसर आपको देने का कोशिश करूंगा। विघ्नेश, MSD is career. Tough one, isn't it? Tough one. I mean, I obviously heart goes out to MS. I mean, he was doing great, but 1 year down the line, who knows? Who knows? GPS band, yes, I've also read that, but there's no conclusive proof that GPS band wasn't working, and no franchise has actually come on record to say that. I mean, the question then is, did the players access the app properly and upload the data in that GPS tracker? We don't know such things. It's all a question of conjecture, as that, like you said, heard from outside food. All that is nonsense. Uh, why was COVID players kept secret? COVID players weren't kept secret. I mean, there was no, see, in COVID, you will not be able to keep it a secret, because in today's day and age, like you see with KKR, Pat Cummins revealed it to somebody in Australia, or X will reveal it to someone in South Africa. Someone will reveal it to someone in England. There are player chat groups. Someone will reveal it to me. A lot of them did. Administrators will. And you have to isolate that particular player. You've got to put it on player chat groups. In an age of 24/7 media, it is impossible to hide any such thing. I don't think there has been any hide and seek. यू नहीं, यूएई में क्यों नहीं हुआ? करण, गुड कॉल, गुड क्वेश्चन यार करण। अगर यूएई में होता, इन हाइंडसाइट, देखो बीसीसीआई, जब मैं देख रहा हूँ ना, ये जनवरी फरवरी में जब आईपीएल का डिसीजन लिया गया था हमारे देश में, कोविड कंट्रोल में था। सो अगर आप कहते हो कि बीसीसीआई क्यों लिया, वो जनवरी फरवरी का हालात देखते हुए ये डिसीजन लिया गया था। और तब अगर आप देखें, हमारे देश में केसेस 10-15 हज़ार में आ गया था। किसी को ये अंदाज़ा नहीं था कि ये 4 लाख केसेस हो सकते हैं। बट फिर भी अगर आप पूछें, फिर भी ये हो सकता था अगर आप एक सिटी में या मुंबई में कर देते, क्योंकि यूएई में आप जो जो डिसीजन लेके कर रहे थे, दैट तीन तीन ग्राउंड एक ही विसिनिटी में है आपका, वो मुंबई में भी हो सकता था, या कोई भी दूसरे शहर में, एक अगर शहर में आप करते। सो वो प्रॉब्लम, द मोमेंट आपने घुमाना चालू कर दिया 6 शहर, आप कहाँ से इन्फेक्शन पिकअप कर रहे हो, और उसके बाद आप क्वारंटीन भी नहीं कर सकते हो। मान लीजिए मैंने उठा लिया ट्रैवल में इन्फेक्शन, अब आपको पता भी नहीं है। सो वो जो 2-3 दिन उसके बाद आप एक साथ रख दिया, टिल द इन्फेक्शन मैनिफेस्ट इटसेल्फ, तब तक वो इन्फेक्शन फैल सकता है। सो इसीलिए आप वो हार्ड क्वारंटीन जो पहले जब घुसते हो आप बबल में जो कर सकते थे, वो आप नहीं कर सकते हो इन द मिडल ऑफ द टूर्नामेंट। कई लोगों ने मुझे पूछा है कि अभी मैं भी कह रहा था कि 6-7 दिन रीबूट, वो क्यों नहीं हो सकता? अगर आपको बॉम्बे मूव करना है, मैंने शो में भी कहा, आपको तो पहले होटल स्टाफ को क्वारंटीन करना पड़ेगा, आपको तो पहले सबको क्वारंटीन करना पड़ेगा। बट वो टाइम ही आपके पास नहीं है, क्योंकि इंडिया को वर्ल्ड टेस्ट चैंपियनशिप के लिए न्यूजीलैंड प्लेयर्स को जाना पड़ेगा, सबको जाना पड़ेगा। सो वो टाइम आपके पास है नहीं टू गेट दैट थिंग इन ऑर्डर टू मूव टू अ डिफरेंट सिटी। चलिए, मैंने बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस ले लिया। कैन इंडियन प्लेयर्स लीव यूके अर्ली? Possible. They'll have to obviously work it out, because UK has put India on the red list, because I'm pretty sure the ICC and the BCCI will sort of work it out so that the Indians can go. obviously finish their quarantine and then do training and then play the WTC final. I'm pretty much sure that will happen. Uh, Shornab Poddar, now he's name dropping vaccines. You're a complete jackass. So why don't you just get out? Because it is not about dropping vaccines. It is about exactly what is going to happen in the next 4 months. Can we have the World Cup? If we cannot, what is the reason? And that's what I'm dropping. And you know why I'm dropping? Because this is my show. I will drop anything I want. Omlan Pradhan, I don't see this year's IPL. I agree with you, Omlan. You are absolutely right in saying that. Uh, Sir, how would player of Australia? Good call. From what I know, from having spoken to a couple of players, Australian players, they will probably go to Dubai if there is some possibility, because Dubai has also closed flights at the moment. So the first thing is they will have to be in isolation for this period of 6 days so that there is no case, and they will have to be tested 3 times. If there are 3 negative reports, which hopefully should be the case, then they will either travel to the UK on a charter, provided that is worked out. So one of the two countries, and then from those countries, post the 15th of May, 15th of May is the cutoff for Australia. Post that, hopefully they will be able to go back to Australia, is what I've been told, because the Australian board isn't seeking an exemption before the 15th of May. Okay, there are plenty more questions. I've taken a lot. Aj, with the IPL closing, will it be advantageous for India WTC final? Yeah, in a way you can say that. That India will probably go early. India will probably go early. Have you spoken to Dada? Of course, I have multiple times. Everyone's disappointed, so is he. But he had no other option but to take this call. This was in the best interests of everybody at this point in time. You cannot take even an iota of chance with people's health. Of course, CSK player tested positive. No, Bala and the support staff. I mean the cleaner. So far, Bubble was vulnerable. As I said, Bubble wasn't. Travel was. Reading 1971, Onupam, very interesting. Thank you very much. We are paying millions to foreign players. They're not happy. Feels like I'm sorry, Ashay. I don't think any foreign player has betrayed you, or we have betrayed them. No, I mean this was an attempt, and it's a learning. I mean it clearly tells you that no bubble is 100% sacrosanct. The moment there is some kind of travel involved, the owners were meeting the players. Hence, no, the owners weren't meeting the players like that. Anybody who met the players was part of the bubble, including a Venki Mysore. So anyone who was part of the bubble was only meeting the players. Varun Chakravarti, uh, Ram Guha is back. What do you mean, Himadri? I don't understand what you want to say here. प्लेयर्स क्या सोच रहे होंगे, सबको खराब ही लग रहा है. मेरे साथ जितना प्लेयर्स का बात हुआ है, सभी अब घर जाने के लिए कोशिश करेंगे. तो मैंने कुछ लोगों को ये भी कहा कि वायरस इतना रैम्पेंट है, जब घर जाओगे एटलीस्ट बायो बबल में थे, कुछ तो सेफ्टी वहाँ था, ज़्यादा ही सेफ्टी था. तो घर में जब जाओगे बी सेफ, क्योंकि आप लोगों को इंडिया के लिए ट्रैवल करना पड़ेगा टू गो टू द यूके टू प्ले द WTC फाइनल. सो ये जो विंडो है बिटवीन नाउ एंड जब इंग्लैंड जाओगे, तब तक अपना ख्याल रखना एंड कीप एवरीबडी सेफ एट होम, बिकॉज इट्स द अगेन व्हेन यू गो होम you can again pick up the infection because the virus is anywhere. Will IPL resume any window? I don't see a window, Sridhar, not yet. uh, I've answered that. I more or less answered everything. 1% chance. 1% chance of what? Will happen in 10 days. 0% chance, Sanket. No chance. How can we take IPL when there is no window available? Vaishnavi, you're right. I don't see it. 100% IPL is necessary. Should have been more professional with the arrangement. Showed up. I don't see BCCI. I mean, in hindsight, again, I'm saying this, that travel was perhaps the responsible factor. But in February, when the BCCI and yes, I do see it that if it was in the UAE, this tournament would have gone on. But the fact of the matter is, in February, the BCCI was seeing a different India, and then it turned out to be a different India. And then it was too late to decide on perhaps the travel bit. But yes, that is a mistake. That is a mistake. That you cannot keep the sanctity of the bubble alive the moment you start traveling. Next time foreigners will come to India. Next year, obviously, yes, everything heals, everything goes past. But I don't think the foreigners or the foreign teams will want to come to India, Tonmoy, during Tonmoy Chakraborty, Kakon Chakraborty. I don't see the foreigners wanting to come to India in October or September leading into the World Cup. I do think there will be apprehension. Can we play IPL after World Cup? There was a talk about it. Some people were saying this to me in the afternoon, including BCCI officials. Uh, Rajiv Shukla has spoken to some of us saying that they will seek a window. It's all up in the air. Let's not say bank on anything. As I said, it's very, very difficult sitting today on the 4th of May to say that IPL will happen. I don't see it. Olympic ki khabor, Olympic is very much on because Tokyo will be one city. There will be no international visitors. Olympic is very much on. The media has been asked to complete their accreditations and pay for their hotels by we've paid 50% already. By the 10th, we've got to make changes, and the final PVCs, the print cards, which are basically supplements for visas, will work out. So definitely on. So now no T20 game before World Cup. No, not so. Not so. The plan was in any case in September, India will play against New Zealand and South Africa, wherever it is, whether it's the UAE, whether it's here. I do see those series going on because they will work out, whether it's in the Emirates, whether it's in Abu Dhabi, they will work that out and play. So of course, they will have the tournament. Good luck for all cricketers. Yeah, correct. So long show. Questions keep flooding in. I will say this: disappointing, but big lessons. And the lesson at this point in time is you cannot assure 100% secure bubble in any condition. And if there is travel involved, that does become porous. Were there other issues? Maybe yes. You know, should it have been in the UAE? Maybe yes. Should it have been in one city? Maybe yes. While it's disappointing at this point in time to shut down the IPL or suspend it or stop it indefinitely, I do think that it was untenable and it had become inevitable. And that's the message that I got from the board and from the players. No player was feeling the confidence. No player was in the mind frame to go ahead with cricket. And people like Rohit Sharma had wives and daughter and families with them. So you cannot take even one iota of risk against a virus. So that's the deal. We will continue to give you more details because a lot of detail will come out how players will go back, what will about happen to the WTC, when will Indians go, what are the plans going forward. I will keep speaking to a lot of these guys. We will keep updating you on Sports Today. Keep watching. Thanks for supporting the platform. And as I said, it's a disappointing day, but frankly, there was no other option. Thanks for watching.